If you enjoy my displays, please consider leaving a donation. This is too much, but I will accept it. Ivara, the Huntress. This tale comes to us from the secret history of the Orokin Court by the historian Porvis. Have you perhaps heard tell of the Myrmidon? No matter. A preternatural beast figure straight out of myth he was. One whose prey had no equal. Warframes were what this villain hunted. It is said a number of frames had been erased from history by this monster. Models who no longer exist on any record. Those who are not remembered. It hardly seemed possible that a single person could stand against a Warframe, let alone destroy it, let alone several. Perhaps Porvis enjoyed the telling a little too much, or perhaps there is something to it. Ivara encountered the Myrmidon quite early in her history. Quite early indeed. A Dax emergency call, so Porvis writes, led Ivara and two unknown Warframes to a convoluted cave system. They found it littered with the bodies of murdered Dax and resplendent with bioluminescent fungi. I imagine the chitinous folds of her Salic Cyandana would have made for excellent camouflage within that malevolent, supernal glow. The secret history tells us that the Myrmidon appeared boldly before the three in a wide chamber connected by many tunnels. Clad in red and gold armor, it gestured to the first Warframe with what Porvis describes as a strange clutching motion, as if seizing a falling apple. But it was no greeting, as we shall see. The powers of that first Warframe, the recipient of that gesture, promptly failed. The Myrmidon took advantage of the confusion to leap upon the hapless frame and press a palm to the warrior's head. In lurid detail, Porvis describes a flash of the most scintillating emerald light, and Ivara's battle sibling collapsed to hot dust. Porvis tells us he compiled much of this tale from overheard exchanges between members of the Seven and details that remain consistent in courtly whispers. He tells us the second frame suffered the same fate as the first. Reacting, Ivara whirled and promptly vanished. But one clutching gesture in her direction and Ivara's powers fled, her cloaking field nullified. Visible, vulnerable, she loosed a dash wire arrow to a high alcove, but it never came. No escape. The Myrmidon was upon her. The Huntress spun, opening fire with Axamati pistols to send that devil scrambling for cover, arm thrown protectively across that twisted, armored head. That clutching gesture was the key. Ivara needed a plan, and she needed it fast. Ivara ran at a wall, and up it, hanging there, waiting, as the Myrmidon flipped into the room, blasting the spot where he'd expected her to be. Frustrated, he again made that same elaborate gesture, trying his luck, and she saw it. That bracelet upon the wrist that glowed softly with the movement of that clutching gesture. Ivara flipped from her perch, shouldering her exquisitely crafted rubico as she did so, and sighted the enemy. Through the Orokin sculpted scope, Hunter and Huntress met eye to eye, each loosing a desperate blast, a bullet from Ivara, a killing light from the Myrmidon. The green light lashed, touching a shoulder plate of Ivara's Avia armor, reducing it to dust. It saved her. Huntress won out, her shot claiming the Myrmidon's device in a shower of sparks. But the Myrmidon's weapon remained lethal, and with it, he lashed out at Ivara in an emerald fury. Ivara hit the ground and sprang into a surrounding tunnel. The Myrmidon's shot lancing a gouge in the porous chamber wall. Ivara pressed her back to a shadowed outcrop at tunnel's end, while the Myrmidon's weapon blazed and cut and chewed through her only cover. As good a time as any to discuss the weapon before you. The Artemis bow. The Huntress's signature weapon, and the tool with which she has wrought so much good. Said by some to be spirit bonded to her. Others say the product of forgotten Orokin technology. What Porvis tells us next displays to good effect what warrior and weapon were capable of. Pinned behind eroding cover, seconds from death, Ivara summoned her Artemis bow and it came to her. She and weapon as one. Without rising, she pulled back, aimed high, she and arrow as one, and loosed. Under Ivara's guidance, the arrow turned its path and shot down the corridor toward the Myrmidon, and lengthwise through his weapon. Around Ivara, the walls flashed green for a microsecond as the Myrmidon's weapon erupted. And then, silence. What is a bow without arrows? And these arrows? The origin system has never seen their like, able to change their very nature at the whim of Ivara. Sleep, cloaking, rapid fire, they are the embodiment of her legendary versatility. Ivara drew her bow again, this time for her fallen comrades. With inhuman speed, shot after shot snapped and plucked each segment of carapace from the Myrmidon's lean frame. Straps severing, clips popping, he was undressed with swift efficiency by the preternatural accuracy of her aim and rapidity. Even before her final arrow belted the visored helmet from his head, she had the killing shot knocked and ready. There he stood, the Myrmidon, slayer of Warframes. Naked, beauty, symmetry, even the capacity for language, sacrificed for raw power. But his face was a mockery of an Orokin face. Those she was sworn to never kill. The smirk on his pallid, angular visage told her he knew it as well. The grand doors of the Chamber of the Seven flew open. Across that reverberating expanse of polished darkness strode Ivara, dragging her prize. Before the assembled council, she dropped him, and with it, the Myrmidon's battered helmet. Here he would meet justice at the hands of his own people. Here, her fallen friends would be avenged. She beheld the Seven, awaiting their judgment. The Myrmidon got to his feet, cleaning dust from one shoulder with a contemptuous flick. One of the Seven leaned forward, removing a curious thing from their slender head, a lattice of delicate silver, placing it on the elevated, chest-high curve of obsidian that separated her from them. Instantly, the Myrmidon collapsed, lifeless, to the floor. Ivara did not understand. Why? Why? A stately voice intoned her name. There stood Executor Ballas. He told her, "You have been battle and loyalty tested. Your companions, they were found wanting. They failed to adapt, failed to overcome, and so they are no more. But you, Ivara, you shall live. You shall be remembered." Her battle comrades, as we know, were not.